Okay, we're back. As promised, we're going to go into the unification of Italy, so let's jump in. Again, local situation, what's going on? What's leading up to this unification push? What is the situation that we're facing? Well, as I said, in 1812, Napoleon has a lot of this territory, including the Italian peninsula, all of those little states and kingdoms that make up the boot. He has control, but by 1815, Napoleon or between 1812 and 1815, Napoleon sort of stabilizes this region. Yes, he has it under his control, but they've sort of unified into workable trade economies. So you had the Kingdom of Italy that kind of developed, you had the southern area of Naples that developed, and then the French controlled most of everything else. But the French oversaw almost the entire area and ensured that money and business and trade was flowing very easily. Well, this built a very strong middle class. People were making money. Yep, France was in control for most of it, but hey, I can live with that because I'm making some good money. I'm moving up in the world. Well, in 1815, when Napoleon is deposed and the Congress of Vienna takes place, there's a fine young gentleman by the name of Clement von Metternich. He's the foreign minister and future chancellor of the Austrian Empire. He and the other key powers, all those kings that I talked about last time that kind of rose up and put everything down, put everything back in place, they redrew the lines, the boundary lines. And they hacked the Italian peninsula to controllable bits and assigned various different powers control over the various different parts. Austria did not want any future issues with any part of the peninsula. And so Metternich did his absolute best to make sure that Austria was a dominant presence in that peninsula. The northern states up near the Kingdom of Lombardy, Venetia, as well as some of the other little ones just beneath it, those all were controlled under the Emperor of Austria. He was their king. The Kingdom of Piedmont, Sardinia, which is the blue on the left-hand side, they were controlled by Savoy, which is closer to France. The two Sicilies, the Kingdom of Two Sicilies down at the bottom of the boot in the little Sicilian island, that was given to an old French house called the Bourbons. They were allowed to rule in that area. And then the Papal States, which is that kind of lavender purplish in the middle, that was returned to the Vatican, and Tuscany also was ruled by Austria's Habsburg house. Kind of put them, again, under Austria's watchful eye. But of course, the citizens, that middle class that had grown up and has now lost all of its stability by dividing and tearing apart the land, they're not too happy. You have taken away their liberty. Ah, there we go again. We're already into the middle of the 19th century, and we're still dealing with, hey, you kings, you have taken away my liberty, my freedoms, my ability to pursue happiness. And so they begin to plot. And in 1815 or so, it's not huge. There's not any like major revolts, but we're going to get some people who are going to start planning how to overcome, push out this monarchy kind of power and oppression. And how do we unify that nation? So in 1848, we have a bunch of revolts. There was a revolution in France. revolution in Germany, there's revolution in Poland, amongst other places. And this is the marking of the rising again. And forgive my Italian, risorgimento, I believe is how you pronounce it, not positive. This is that Italian rising up. They are taking this opportunity in 1848 to rise up against the powers that be, and they are trying to move towards independence. Now you think, well, what about the kings that are there? Well, the kings of Piedmont, Sardinia, that green, the Tuscany, the orange, and the two Sicilies down in the purple, they're being pressured by liberals, by these people wanting revolution, wanting change, to remove the absolutism, remove the king, remove that pressure. It just so happens that at about this time, Austria's Metternich is overthrown by rioters in Vienna. So the Milanese, which is that area just to the right of the top green, that Lombardy, Venetia region that Austria took and grabbed away, they're going to rise up against the Austrian occupants at that time, and they win. This is the gunshot, the starting gun, go, of the first Italian war for independence. So Lombardy, Venetia joins with Piedmont, Sardinia to fight against the Austrians. Tuscany and several others also join. However, the king of Tuscany is not really all that thrilled with the idea, but he's listening to his people and he goes along with it. And they all fight against Austria for independence. Of course, Pope Pius IX does not want to fight his very devout Catholic Austria, so he refuses to help, and he stands by, which results in his being deposed. He gets kicked out. The Republican Giuseppe Mazzini, he and his followers, along with Giuseppe Garibaldi, they come along and they are going to push him out, and they take the Papal States back. Mazzini unifies the Papal States into the Roman Republic in 1849. This fine-looking gentleman here is Napoleon III. He doesn't necessarily like the fact that things are going sideways. The monarch of the two Sicilies, so he's kind of churning things up. The monarch of the two Sicilies backs out in June of 1849, seeking to pacify more moderate liberals, not so radical liberals that want to fight. And he pulls his troops out of the north. He just withdraws them, leaving that region to kind of fend for itself. Austria, of course, overthrows northern states and reclaims most of Lombardy, Venetia. And Napoleon III then goes back in and reestablishes the papal rule. The Pope is put back in charge of the Roman Republic, turning it back into the Papal States. So, how's this going? The Piedmont Savoy people, or not, sorry, that's a misspelling. The Piedmont Sardinia people, they need allies. They need help. France doesn't look like they're going to help them, but at about 1853, you have the beginning of the Crimean War. This is a war primarily between Russia and the Ottoman Empire. Russia is going to completely devastate Ottoman Empire in about one day. And since France and Britain do not want to have a rival in that region with Russia, they decide they're going to go fight on behalf of the Ottomans and put Russia down, and that's the Crimean War. And we'll get to that next week. This week, though, you just need to know that France and Britain are getting ready to fight Russia in this Crimean War. So King Victor Emmanuel II and Count of Cavour agree. They make this special deal with France and Britain. Hey, we'll come along and we'll fight with you. We'll be your ally. We'll help you in your endeavor. And why do they want to do that? So that they can win one of them over to beat back Austria. Aha! There's a plan. There's a scheme. There's ulterior motives. So they end up winning France as their ally against Austria. And after some back and forth, Cavour and Napoleon take back part of Lombardy, Venetia in 1859. There's also in the south, this gentleman I mentioned before, Giuseppe Garibaldi. In about 1860, he's had enough of corrupt kings, of people who are not really serving the people the way they should. So he gathers up 1,000 men and sails to Sicily and seizes the island. It's actually a pretty easy win. Then he goes from there back to the toe of the boot, which is Naples, this Naples region, and he works his way up into the bottom part of that kingdom and kills it. He just takes it over. And so now he is getting ready to attack the Papal States. He wants the Pope, the Church, to not have control over these regions, but to liberate the people in these regions. However, Cavour says, no, I don't want you to have that much power. And so Piedmont Sardinia attacks first. They come down and they attack. So in October 1860, that region is now under the Piedmont Sardinia and Garibaldi control. Garibaldi meets King Emmanuel, and he basically just hands the rest of Italy to the king and says, you can have it. And that's in 1816. And so by 1861, you have this almost unified picture of modern day Italy. But there's still a couple regions. Venice is still in the hands of Austria. They haven't gotten all of Lombardy, Venetia back yet. And they don't have the Rome, that central part of that was left of the Papal States. That's still controlled by the Church and France. So Cavour makes an alliance with Prussia to fight Austria in 1868 for the Third War of Independence. And if you remember from our, actually we haven't had that video yet. See, even I can get confused. Okay, so this is a warning. This is a hint. This is a spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. This big thing is going to be important. So the Italians make this deal with Prussia that they're going to work together to push back Austria. And this is in 1868. Italy does horribly. It's not against Austria's mighty, well-organized, very experienced military. They can't fight. But Prussia absolutely stomps Austria. And so Prussia gives Venice not to Italy, not to the Kingdom of Italy, but gives it to France because they think that the Italians just really did a horrible, miserable job. So now France owns that. So now France controls the Papal States and that region that the Italians want. So next, Franco-Prussian War. Franco-France. Prussia is up near Germany. So these two in 1870 go to war. And this is a big move in the unification of Germany, but that's coming up next. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's going to be, it's cool. All these things are happening at the same time. But as a result of that war, as a result of Prussia just stomping France, the Kingdom of Italy is finally finished in 1871. They've kicked out France out of the Papal States. Rome becomes the capital of their kingdom, and that region up on the top, or the north east, is now back in the control of the Kingdom of Italy. And that is the end of the unification of Italy. But as we're moving around, I got to go back now and we got to look at, well, what's going on just north of there, because everybody is playing and allying and fighting and trying to get ahead of the other. And Germany, Prussia is no different. So let's go over and take a look at that next.